Hey everyone, welcome back to Open. So, love is still in the air, mi gente. I know we just passed Valentine's Day battle. If you are looking for your next spicy adult novel, get tied up in Brooklyn Unbound, the trilogy. Yeah, so when high-powered television producer Brooklyn thinks she has it all, she craves new desires that are considered taboo. And then, as she goes down the erotic rabbit hole, she tries to take back control of her perfect life when all things dark come to light. Ooh. Here to share more, please welcome back to the show storyteller, content creator, producer, editorial operations manager, and author, Brooke Dean.
Hi, hello.
So I gave them a little taste of the fire that lives inside of these books. Now, I do want to say, this is a full 360 from the books that we were talking about previously.
Yes. Very different from our last visit. Yes.
So, of course, you were in mama mode because we were representing your son, Jackson.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And now we're representing the woman.
That's right. I'm not mom right now. I'm not mom. I'm woman now.
Yeah, I love it though. I love it. I love the risk taking that you've chosen to just engulf yourself in really going out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I only started reading the first one, and this is a trilogy. So we've got Brooklyn Unbound, Brooklyn Unleashed, and Brooklyn Unraveled. That was just released. Well, the third one was just released for Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Yeah, your timing is impeccable as well. I might add, right? So first, let's talk about Brooklyn Unbound and how did you step into it knowing that you were going to create a trilogy, or did they form themselves?
They formed themselves. I didn't know at first because I had already started this journey with my son, helping him write his books. And I've always been a writer, but I would write for online magazines. I wrote for television, very different from writing a novel. I always knew I had a novel in me, but I just didn't know what it would be. And then I got into a relationship that kind of sparked a little things and conversations and stuff. And I've always been a fan of the genre itself. Like, I'm a big Zane fan. So she actually edited my first two books and read them and wrote reviews for them and everything. So like, my writing career is complete as far as I'm concerned. But the first book just poured out of me. I had a surgery, and so I was down for like 2 weeks. And so I was like, oh, I have time. Let me sit and see. And then words just poured out. And I kind of ended it on an emotional cliffhanger. So it kind of set the stage, almost like I had to write the second book, but I didn't set out to do that. And I certainly didn't know it was going to be a trilogy, but the feedback kept saying, like, they wanted more and more of her story. So it just prompted me to just keep going. So that's how that happened.
Well, I'm sure you being a television producer plays a role as well, right? Because you're writing a series here.
Yes.
I mean, kind of, sort of. I mean, it's quite elaborate.
Yes, it is. It's very detailed. And I write the way I see things.
Right.
Because even though I work in audio, books, and podcasts and things now, my background has been television. So I see it playing out like a movie or a TV show in my head while I was writing, and I think I saw life beyond the book for it. It's kind of just happened organically that way. So yeah, this could easily be season 1, season 2, season 3.
So yes, very easily, right? So I don't know how far you want to go, right? But is this your altar? Because I mean, this is quite scandalous.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because it seems like it's sort of semi-autobiographical, because Brooklyn is the name of the character. People think Brooklyn is the borough that it takes place in, and that's not what it is. Brooklyn is her name.
Well, why did you name her Brooklyn?
I think because if I had a girl, I was going to name her Brooklyn after kind of similar to my name.
Right, as an addition to
Yes, and I've always just loved that name for a girl, so I just left it that way. And people were saying, like, people are going to think that this is you. And because she's a television producer, I have a television background. My boyfriend's name begins with a J, and the main character's name is J. So, like, of course, people are going to make that correlation. But I really don't.
But do you care, really?
I don't
just
care.
Out of curiosity.
I don't care if people think that it's me. I think people cared more that they were like, you have a young son. Is he going to read this? Or you're using your real name.
Right.
And I was like, wouldn't know how to promote it any other way. And plus, I want it to still be authentically my voice.
Right.
But I mean, I'm not delving in dungeons and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
Not that I'm opposed to it or
Right.
anybody that is, but it
Right.
was more of like a creative exercise of like, how far can I take this? Because
Right.
I do like the genre. I do like testing boundaries and
Yeah.
seeing where it can go. So,
I get it. I get it.
like, why not?
It's about
Why
human
not?
behavior.
Yes.
It is. At the end of the day, it's
Yes,
about human behavior.
absolutely.
And it's about what you're really giving, I guess, paying most attention to, and how you're allowing it to dominate. Bump.
Yes. Bind me, tie me up. Yes, I get it.
I mean, we're speaking metaphorically and not.
Right.
And that's actually what I picked up, even in the little bit that I've read.
Yes.
In seeing that, there's some controversial stuff in there.
Yeah,
All right.
for
so,
sure.
And when I say scandalous, when we're going to the extremes of like, fantasizing with the pastor and like,
In church.
well, you're in
Where you
church.
shouldn't be. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, I want to say for anybody who is not picking up on my encrypted language, we'll just say, 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Along that realm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Except as people of color.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But a professional woman who, like you said, she goes to church. She is a daughter. She's a friend. She's a professional. And I think where the title came from is like, you don't have to be bound by all these different titles and thinking that you can't delve into this other part of yourself that may, like you said, seem taboo and that people don't talk about. But it's like, how do you navigate, having this professional face or this, church mouse face, and then still go home and get into an app and like go out on the balcony and be a voyeur, do it's like certain things, you know what I mean? So it's like you can still do and be all of those things. You can be a mom, you can be a wife, you can be a daughter, you can go to church, you can like handcuffs and whips and chains and things at the same time. Like, you don't have to have one, persona about
Identity.
yourself. Yes,
Right,
exactly.
right. Well, what are we going to consider that intersectionality?
Yeah. Like, and I'm sure, people who know me in real life are like, what are you talking about? This is not you. But it could be.
Right.
And you never know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Well, you never know people
You never
anyway.
know anyway. So,
Right.
like, how do you know it's not me?
Well, we live in a voyeur society.
Yes.
Right? With the whole social media, that's voyeurism. Right? So,
Yes.
So the fact that people have chosen certain areas in which to focus, going
Right.
back to that, and you put it in a book and you put it in a trilogy form, right?
Yes.
So, obviously, I got to read the second and the third, but I already know. This is like one of those limited series.
Yes.
That's going to cost a lot of money.
Well, it's interesting because what I learned in writing that I didn't know before is like, don't release a series unless you have the complete series done.
Right.
It kind of worked out because people are like waiting, anticipating for the next one to see what Brooklyn's going to do. So it worked out that way because this Brooklyn Unleashed, the second one, came out Valentine's Day last year. So for a year, people have been waiting to see how she's going to tie this all up in her life and what she's going to do, and has an unexpected. There's another little thrilling. Like the third one is more of a thriller, like a suspenseful romantic thing, because she's in a little stalker situation with someone else.
Right.
Because even that aspect of it is like, yeah, she's into this thing with this man, but then this woman comes in and tries to shake things up and make her question what she thinks she knows and what she thinks she wants. And now it's like a triangle situation. So
if you had to summarize each
Yes.
one, what would we identify Unbound as?
Unbound
Brooklyn
would be
Unbound.
her discovering herself.
All
It's
right.
like, so she has the professional thing on, but the ropes are underneath it. So like she's trying to get that part to come out. By the second book, you can see that it's very different.
Unleashed.
She's unleashed. She's out now.
Right,
Like she's
right.
not trying to hide it. She's like, I'm trying to learn more and get into this thing. But she still has this emotional component of her that feels like she should be married with kids and with the white picket fence and everything. And by Unraveled, she's confused she gets herself into like a little over her head more than she thought she could, and now she's trying to like she's falling apart and she's trying to reel it all back in, and she went a little further than she should have. And so now we don't know how that's gonna. I know how it's gonna end.
Right.
But you have to read how it's gonna end. But yeah, so it ties it up nicely. People have been asking me for a prequel to this,
Right.
which is would be different for me. But yeah, to sum it all up, it's like she's discovering herself. She discovered herself. Now she went too far, and
Got
so
it.
now what does she do with that?
Got it. And so the other part I noticed is like they're all nice sizes.
Yeah.
Right. So the first one is the thickest.
Yeah, because we're introducing her, telling her story, giving her a little background.
Right.
But by this point, you know her already, and I did feel pressure at first
Right.
to make it bigger, longer. But the story is what it is, So I don't want to stretch it just to fill up pages.
Right. And so for somebody who's just tuning in, do you recommend that they read out of order, right?
you
Because
can't.
just released, right? So it's really important to read them
Yes,
in order.
you have to read them in order. They're not standalone by themselves. I mean, if you did, you could, with the second one, you can kind of figure out the first. But you
Right.
have to read them in order. So Unbound, Unleashed, and then Unraveled. You have to do it that way.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's smart too, as a business owner.
Yeah, listen, because now people know that this one just came out, Unraveled, so they're like, wait a minute, what is this? So they have to go back to the first two in order to get the third. So it's actually forced me to kind of reconnect myself with the first book, because people are going back to that one before they can get to this one. And so I have to remember all the things that happened and answer all their questions. So I actually had to reread my first two books, because that's actually getting a lot of attention now because of the third one.
So what was that process like? Like, so what kind of time span? You already said from 1 year to the next, you were able to do the second and the third.
Yes.
But how long did it take you from the first to the second?
I only took like a 3-month break, I think.
Oh, wow.
I
You
started
were in
writing it
there.
because I was already in the story, and I knew, because I left it on a cliffhanger, that I had to do the second one. It almost forced me to, but the story was already there in my mind, so I just knew where it was going. The third one, I took a little bit more time, so that's why there's a year in between releases. So my process is like, I'm a single mom.
Right.
So, and my son writes books.
Right.
So
Which
I
we
have
know.
to, right.
It's
very different.
The Whisker Gang.
From the Whisker
I'm like,
Gang.
We're not talking the Whisker
This
Gang
is the
this time around.
Whips Gang, now it's different.
The Whips Gang.
Gotta go from one, so it's hard to, and then I have a regular real job,
Right,
every
right.
day. The good part about what I do at Audible is that I'm a operations manager, so it keeps me, I'm used to deadlines and production schedules and things. So I'm able to keep myself on a schedule, keep my son on a schedule. It's really just shifting mindsets from children's books to romance books. So I did get some help with a consultant who kind of takes over some of his stuff, which is why we were able to talk with you the first time.
Right.
And then I write when he's asleep. I write on the weekends when he's, busy with his dad doing some things or whatever. So I find little pockets of time. I make sure I write every day, even if it's 15 minutes, or it could turn into 2 or 3 hours. But having that background in my regular everyday job helps to keep me on schedule. But there are times where I would go for a week and I'm like, I don't know anything, because my mind is thinking about Polly the Persian Cat, from his books.
Right.
And I had to really shut myself off. So what I did was, this summer I dedicated August to October for him, and it's nothing but his books. And then after that I was like, now it's mommy's time.
Right.
And I'm focusing nothing on my books. So that's why I gave myself from November till now, and basically till April.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, who knows? It'll
Yeah.
be like a free-for-all for everything.
That's the producer in you, and
Yes.
that's the mommy in you
Yes.
too, right? So before we go, I just want you to share with us, how liberating was that for you to do this for yourself?
It was amazing because, I'm 50 years old, and it kind of let me know it's never too late. And like I said, I'm a broadcast journalism major in school. I've had a television background, TV. So it's people are always like, when are you writing a book? And I'm like, I don't have a story to tell, and I didn't force it. But then when I had one to tell, it just came out. So I think organically it just happened when it was supposed to happen. And now that it has happened, I feel amazing, because it's I accomplished this thing. And I accomplished it after my son. So he kind of inspired me to do it as well. So I was like, if I'm pushing this for him, why can't I do this for myself? And if I'm going to be an example. So there are a lot of times we're writing at the same time. And so now it's what's the next book? and the next book and the next book for both of us. So it's a journey we take together that I take pride in. And even though they're very different genres, the process is the
Drastically
same. Very,
different.
very
Drastically.
different. My next book, though, however, if I don't do the prequel, will
Right.
just be, it still is a romance, but it might be a little bit more of a romantic comedy. I might write it just for audio. I'm not sure yet, but now
Right.
that I know the process, I can pick and choose how I want to go. So I'm looking forward to the next one. I'll probably start writing again in the summer.
Well, we really, really appreciate you coming here and
I
sharing
appreciate
it
you
with
having
us.
me.
And you know what? I really appreciate the fact that you were able to share with our viewers how important it is to take care of yourself too. in
Yeah,
the
do your own
process.
thing. Like, it's
As
never
a mom,
too late.
yeah, but as
Yeah.
a mom, we tend to sacrifice, right?
Yes.
I'm a fellow mom, fellow
Yes.
single mom, so I understand that restoration of balance and really being okay with doing it for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guilt-free.
Guilt-free, totally. And that's part of the unbound part of it too. Is like, I'm not bound by, because I'm his mom, I can't write this sexy story. And it's like, I'm going to tell the story. People are either going to like it or they're not, but I don't care because it's my journey to take, and I loved every second of it, and I can't wait to continue it. So it's all just for me.
That's right. This is your choice of outlet, and we're so
Yes.
happy you brought it here.
Yes,
Everyone,
thank
Brooke
you.
Dean.
Thank you so much. I
Once
appreciate
again,
it.
we have been talking about the Brooklyn Unbound Trilogy, and the third installment of the Brooklyn Unbound Trilogy, Brooklyn Unraveled, is out now where all books are sold. However, as you heard, we highly recommend you read Brooklyn Unbound first, then Brooklyn Unleashed, and then Brooklyn Unraveled. All right, and for more, you can visit BrookeDean.com. All right, stay tuned. There's more open when we return.